Welcome back. It's me, Lou. And for today's exercise, we're going to be drawing this Captain America. But this just isn't plain Captain America. This is actually Marvel Avengers Mech Strike Captain America. So, I actually reviewed this toy a few videos back. And I want to say it's loosely based off the new comic miniseries, Avengers Mech Strike, and that's pretty much where the Avengers all pilot giant robots and mechs. And this is the Captain America that kind of falls in with that toy line that's kind of, I don't know, maybe loosely based off the comic book series. And this Captain America, he's a little bit more high tech than your usual Captain America fare. He's wearing, heavy duty armor. And when I got this toy, I was kind of like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I really want to draw him. Now I kind of have a image in my head of what I want to draw. I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and folded it in half because I don't want to utilize the entire canvas. I just want to use half the canvas for this drawing, and I don't think this is going to be a very dynamic pose. I think if anything, it might be a little bit more on the dramatic side because I think I want to play around with like lighting and shading a little. So yeah, we're gonna draw Captain America from Avengers Mech Strike. Really cool. I like his look. Okay, so the image I have in my head of this Captain America, as usual, this might be a portrait. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how much of his body yet I want to frame. But I know I just want to capture just half of his body. Or at least half of his face. I want this to look a little bit dramatic, and it's like I said, I want to play with shadows, a little bit of lighting. And yeah, so let's start this off. I'm gonna map out his head first. Already, I think I might have made his head too big, but I'll live with that for now. His nose will fall here. Maybe his ears here. Let's get his neck muscles drawn in. Now, Captain America, he's a superhero, and I always try to envision him. I don't really see him on being on the bulky side. I picture him being a little bit more lean, but not so much like a basketball player or I don't know, maybe like I kind of picture Cap maybe like slightly below a welterweight fighter, if you're familiar with like boxing or like mixed martial arts. I don't see him as being a very bulky guy, but more so a little bit more cutter and lean with some like mass to him. Alright, I'm not sure if that shoulder's too far out. So let's bring his head out a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. Okay. As I mentioned with my last drawing, the Wolverine one, I kind of said I wanted the next drawing, which is this, to be a little bit more, a little bit looser, a little bit more lighthearted. I mean, that's what I had in mind initially, but I kept on seeing this vision of Captain America in my head. I'm like, I want to kind of draw that out. Now, I'm unsure if you're going to see his eyebrow or not in this costume, because he does have his helm on. And you won't see his ear, but right now I'm just kind of placing all the facial features in just because I want to kind of map out where they're going to be once I actually start getting a little bit more hardcore about where I'm going to place everything. Let's make his eye a little bit, just a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too big. And he has the giant A on the front of his forehead. And he has some markings here. Now I'm looking at this. It doesn't look like it's accurate to the movie. This guy, it looks like he's inspired by the movie designs, but not necessarily the same thing, which is okay. As much as I like the Cap look in all the movies, I'm just a big fan of the traditional superhero costumes, at least right now. I just kind of think they're really textured and armored versions of the costumes are a little bit, for me anyways, they're just a little bit played out. I'd kind of like to see a return back to this older superhero outfits. Like when I was a kid, I really just dug the plain old, like Adam West, Batman, where he just ran around like in spandex or whatever, because he looked almost like he just leapt out of the comic book, whereas these kind of looked very stylized, and they kind of, you just look at them, that Hollywood kind of had their fingerprints on them to make them look really sleek, and they look cool and all, but I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist right now. My attitude might change, but that's what I'm just kind of feeling. Now this Cap kind of has it's almost like an armored vest over his bodysuit, and I don't know. I'm just taking a really loose approach to my pencils right now. I'll just make up for everything in the inking phase. I'm kind of wishing I went a little bit smaller, because I'm actually losing some of the detail that I wanted here. Like I kind of wanted to fit more of his star, but you're really getting the point of it up here. So just cut my losses a little, I guess. All right, so I think this is where we're gonna leave off with the pencils, and let's get to work on the inks now. I don't feel I need to flesh this out any further. I might be a little bit arrogant in assuming so, but I think I'm good. Drawing like this could be very haphazard, because I might be getting the proportions wrong and all that, but I just don't want to lose the energy I have right now and just, pushing forward with the drawing. Okay, let's get to the inks. Okay, I'm going to go for a really thick contour line around him. I'm a big fan of this really broad, thick lines because I kind of feel like it pulls everything in. Let's go with a slightly duller tip. Now these are all brand new. Okay. So right now, as I'm drawing this, it's April of 2001, and on Disney Plus, they're in the middle of the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and I'm enjoying that a lot. You know, if you've been watching some of my previous videos, or if you just know me, you know I'm a huge comic book fan. I've been reading comic books since I was very little, and I got really serious about it maybe when I was like 13 years old. So we're looking at probably close to or over 30 years. And I don't follow all of his comic books and adventures, but Captain America is always one of those superheroes I always kind of gravitated towards every now and then. Even if I don't read his comics or whatever, I'm just a fan of the character, like what the character stands for and what he looks like visually. You know, besides being patriotic, I like the idea of a man who's displaced in time. You know, since he was from the Greatest Generation, World War II, and for him to be in the modern era, I always thought that was really neat. You know, that's kind of like a theme that's often visited in works of fiction or science fiction. Like in science fiction, you have Buck Rogers, another time displaced person. I want to say there was a, what was it? There was a I think there was a Mark Twain story. Was it like a Yankee in King Arthur's court or something along those lines? I can't remember. Unless I'm making that up. I don't all I remember is that it might have been a movie or a book. I remember both possibly. Like a guy out of time, but he was like in the medieval ages or something, and he introduced a bicycle to like knights or something. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass right now. But yeah, the idea of time displaced characters, especially heroes, is very frequented in different works of fiction. And I've always liked that idea too. I like the idea of you could take someone out of time, place them in a different era, and they're still kind of governed by, the ideologies and their beliefs from that certain time period. And what makes Cap cool is that, regardless of, whether he was from World War II or whatever, but he kind of has, he's still a very honorable character and kind of has a moral compass that he goes by. And I don't know, I just thought he's really cool, very honorable, and he embodies a lot of cool qualities and traits, which falls completely opposite of some of my other favorite superheroes like Wolverine and like the Punisher. The Punisher, street vigilante, takes the law into his own hands after his family's murdered, like in the park by mobsters. Wolverine's a complicated character because, he's always either written as being like, like a complete feral savage, or he's bound by his honorable like samurai code or whatever. But Cap's cool, you know what you're getting with Cap. Okay, I'm feeling a little lost in this drawing right now. I think I kind of jumped the gun again, but I'll try to make this work. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just basically outlining all his key features. And then I'll go back in a little bit and flesh it out a little bit more, but for now, I just want to map where all his armor pieces begin and end, and just to kind of give him a really clean overall look. Alright, Captain America, the first Avenger. Now, I don't remember, it's been such a long time, but if I know my Marvel history, I want to say, like, the first Captain America movie, that Disney put out that was Captain America: The First Avenger. But if I know my Marvel history, I want to say Cap wasn't part of the first set of Avengers. I think it was Hulk, Iron Man, Wasp, and Ant-Man. I think that's right. And I believe Cap belonged. I'm probably wrong on this, but I think he belonged to the Defenders initially, which is was it Namor, and then the cyborg, Human Torch. I don't know. It's been such a long time. I always forget my histories in terms of comic books confused, and it doesn't help that every so many years they feel the need to reboot the histories and continuities and all the storyline stuff. I'm not as diehard as I used to be. When I was younger, you could ask me that kind of stuff and I'd give you an answer and I'd probably be right. But now that I'm getting older, I always tell people I've forgotten more about comic books than most people actually know, just because I've been into it for so long. You know, it takes a lot for me to be really engaged in like certain stories and characters, and for it has to be really memorable for me to just like be able to like grasp and hold on to that. But some stuff nowadays, it's kind of like in one ear and out the other. So this is a very basic look for Captain America I'm drawing right now. It's not overly done. It's just very clean, and I'm not sure if even's the right word to describe it, but he's a very clean and even looking Cap right now. So in the new Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, they brought in John Walker, the U.S. agent, and I'm not too familiar with the character. I just remember when I was younger, I bought one of those handbooks to the Marvel Universe, which is a kind of like who's who guide of like all the characters that populate the Marvel Universe. And I remember the first time I saw a picture of U.S. Agent. He was in that one comic I bought, and I thought he looked so cool because it was essentially a Captain America in a black uniform, and he had a different like design, and I thought this looked awesome. And I was reading up his bio. I'm like, wow, this guy sounds pretty cool. And it was a little bit, not too much later, that I kind of learned that the mantle of Captain America is something that's, you know, it's been held by so many different characters. Like Bucky Barnes, Rick Jones, Nomad. I think Nomad was a Cap at one time. And, you know, Falcon. You know, they've all worn the mantle of Captain. They've all carried the shield. I've always liked stories like that where it's about, you know, where the sidekick eventually takes up the mantle of his mentor. Like one of my favorite Batman stories, I want to say it was Grant Morrison who wrote them. It's like, it's been such a long time. So I think Batman was dead, but he wasn't really dead. I think his conscious was like floating around through different time periods and realities in history. And then everyone kind of just assumed he was dead. And so it was up to his ward, Dick Grayson, to take up the mantle of Batman. And then so Dick Grayson became Batman for a little bit. And I think only certain characters knew it was really Dick Grayson. Like Superman was a given. I think he knew. You know, I think Wonder Woman did. And it was interesting because Dick Grayson was a much more... He was a Batman that could, like... cooperate and deal with other characters. Like I think for the most part, like Batman's very distrustful, or he doesn't like Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, and it's such a cool dynamic because here was Dick Grayson. He's the newly minted Batman because everyone thought Batman was dead, and the first time out with, I think, when he was with Justice League as a new Batman, he actually got along with the Green Lantern. And it was just kind of cool because the relationship was a lot different. And it was just a cool story too because with Batman being gone, Batman's son Damian Wayne, he kind of developed a deeper bond with Dick Grayson. Like Dick's Bruce Wayne's adopted son, whereas Damian's actually his real biological son that he had with Talia Al Ghul. And it was kind of cool to see them kind of bond and this and that, because Damian had a very different upbringing than Dick did. You know, Dick was raised by Batman and Alfred, and whereas Damian was more so raised by the League of Assassins and his mom. And I kind of remember, once again, it was such a long time ago, I kind of remember like when they first introduced us to Damian in the comic books. I think he was trying to gain his father's acceptance, and I want to say he killed either like a mobster or another like assassin, and he kept the head in a bag, and his Batman freaks out. It's like, you can't cross that line. You know, you can't just go willy-nilly and start killing people. And in the comic books right now, I think there's a return to that character for Damian. I'm not reading the comics he's specifically in, but a couple of issues of Batman, some of the more recent ones, they've kind of shown that Damian kind of feels that his dad, Bruce Wayne's kind of fallen from grace. So Damian's been seeking out his mother again. And she's kind of the head of the League of Assassins. And for Damian, it's kind of like a return to form where he's not going full back assassin, but I don't think he believes in his father's mission and his ways. Damian Wayne's, like, I think of all the different Robins, I want to say he's not my favorite. My favorite's still Dick Grayson, but he's up there. Which is weird because I think during my time reading comic books, Timothy Drake, the Robin that replaced Jason Todd, was probably the Robin that I should have been most familiar with. But I don't know. At a certain point, it's kind of like there's too many Robins. So, but I like Damian a lot just because he's kind of a little asshole. And I like Dick a lot because he's the natural successor to Batman. He like has all of Batman's skills and qualities and strengths, but the thing that makes him different is that I think he has a much more grounded moral compass than Batman does. Like, even though that Dick's parents were murdered also, he's not as crazy as Bruce Wayne is. Like, Batman's one of my favorite characters, but he's like the world's biggest a-hole. But we're drawing Captain America here, so I should be really talking about Cap. I think one of the reasons why I kind of have sometimes difficulty like disinvesting myself in Captain America, like as much as I do like some other characters like Wolverine, is because, you know, he's part Avenger, and in his own comic he's Captain America, which is, you know, the case for a lot of superheroes. Like, you know, Superman's on Justice League, Wolverine's on X-Men, but, you know, when I read Cap, I just want the purest form of the character. You know, I don't want him, you know, daylighting as an Avenger and, you know, reading different sorts of stories and adventures that he does only as Cap versus what he does as an Avenger. But, you know, some of the really popular superheroes, it's always been the case. Like Wolverine, as I said, he's an X-Men. Batman, you know, he's on Justice League. Wonder Woman's on Justice League. You know, the very popular characters, they always happen to just throw them in a book, some sort of team dynamic, which makes sense. You're gonna put all the heavy hitters together. Alright, so there's my cap. Let's start erasing some of these lines. Okay, so for this guy, I'm going to light him from up here. So let's get some of these lines in. And let's start building up some of the shadows a little. Okay, so Cap has this chin strap here. Am I a fan of the chin strap? I don't know. I don't know. Who doesn't like a good chin strap? Okay. Okay, I'm liking what I'm seeing right now. So much like some of the drawings I've done recently, this kind of falls more into my wheelhouse of how I normally draw. And I'm kind of stoked on that. I was kind of worried going in that this is going to be one of those cases where I'm just having a severe case of making it up as I go along and everything just looks wrong. But this is working out for me right now. I really wish I could devote more time to just drawing. I really envy people that, you know, get to draw all day or get to be creative all day. I think that's such a blessing if you can make that happen. Alright, looks like we have a Sharpie dying here. Let's put this aside. Let's grab another one. I've said this before, but it can't be good smelling Sharpies all day, could it? It's like huffing. Don't huff, it's bad for you. Okay, Captain America. I really like his costume here. Everything about it just looks really cool. It's a very heavily armored kind of look. So speaking of the Avengers, I was out near the comic book shop yesterday, and I said this before, but I always feel like I was born either 10 years too early or 10 years too late. Like when I was growing up, I'm like a broken record. I always talk about this. Comic books weren't necessarily the coolest thing. And, it's not like I had to hide my geekdom. Everyone kind of knew I was kind of a nerd in high school. But it just boggles my mind that into this day and age, superheroes and comic books, they're so mainstream and, popular. Like we were like in the parking lot yesterday of the comic book shop. And then I'm looking at the comic book store, and two girls walk out, and then a minute later a car pulls up, and then two girls get out of the car and they go into the comic book shop. And I remember back in the day, it was so rare. The only time you ever saw a girl voluntarily go into a comic book shop is, because she was with her boyfriend or something. But and these girls, when they came out of the comic book store, they were talking about, this one girl was complaining about Hawkeye comics. She's like, why should I pay so much for a Hawkeye comic here at the comic book shop when I can just get them all online? And I'm like, my mind was like blown. I'm like, what dimension am I in? It's like, here are these, cute girls, and they're talking about, reading Hawkeye. It's not that Hawkeye is not a popular character, but it's not like they're saying, hey, I'm reading Spider-Man, whatever. But if you're reading Hawkeye, it's not that it's an acquired taste, but he's not as mainstream as some of the other Marvel superhero characters. But I mean, he is now because of the movies. But yeah, so that just blew my mind. I'm like, this is so crazy. Okay, so this is a drawing that for me right now, it's like less is definitely more. I could get a little bit nuts here and render the hell out of them, but as I'm drawing it, I just like the fact that he's coming out looking so clean, and once again, the word even. I don't know why I use the word even, but he looks very clean and even right now. The amount of contrast between the white and black is almost perfect, and this drawing, he has a presence about him. He really commands the space he's standing in right now. I'm not always about drawing the really flashy, dynamic poses. I just like drawing stuff sometimes where the character, it seems like he's just looking at you, kind of like staring a hole into your soul. Kind of like this. Here's Cap. He's just staring at you, trying to figure you out, trying to intimidate you. Yeah, so I'm really happy with this so far. It's like I said, this is a rare case where less is definitely more. I didn't have to go overboard with all sorts of crazy lines and shading. It's just everything kind of feels very spot on right now. Okay. How much further do I want to take this? There is a part of me right now that I'm kind of leaning towards wanting to add some shadows to them. But if I do it, it has to look clean. That's the thing. That's the compromise. It has to be perfect if I do this. The question is, could I pull it off? That's what I'm wondering. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to get too carried away with it in case it kind of, I don't want to say mess up, but I have a very specific image in my head right now of what I want to do with this. And we'll see if I can pull it off or not. I take great pride in my line work. It's a funny story, but I think it has to do like with back in high school. It was this one girl's birthday, a girl I liked, and I remember one thing she was really into. She was really into horses, and this sounds really corny of me, but I drew her just for the hell of it. I drew her a picture of a unicorn, and I remember people were checking out the drawing. I mean, she loved it. She thought it was awesome. And this one other girl looked at it, and then she's like, "It looks like a computer drew this." Because I was really fine about my line work because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect. And then from there, I was kind of like, I'm like, wow, that's one of the best compliments I ever got about my artwork. Someone thought a computer drew it. I don't do that anymore, though. I don't draw girls pictures of unicorns. I probably should. I probably have better luck if I did that, but yeah, I was stupid when I was like younger. I'm stupid now that I'm older also, so it all kind of works out. Okay, this is semi-working for me. I was kind of worried that this was a big mistake. It still might be, but... as of right now, it's not. So... it could be, though, if I F up here, but I'm going to try not to. These lines are making me nervous. These pretzels are making me thirsty. It wasn't my intent initially at a certain point, but I kind of really wanted to go back and do what I'm doing now. Just add a little bit of gray value to this. Oh, okay. Yeah, this part here worried me because the whole purpose of this was just drawing parallel lines. But if this top line was slightly off, then by the time I got down to here, it wouldn't look right. So that was worrying me. Okay, so we got some value here on them. Wow, it's looking pretty neat. Let's do what I normally do. Let's stage light them, just so I get some, so I can make it look just a little bit more dramatic. I'm really happy with how some of these more recent drawings have been coming out. As I said before, like when I first started doing these YouTube drawing videos, it's about more so just trying to see if I could draw a video within a certain amount of time. But ever since I got rid of that time limit and just told myself, just do it. If it's going to take you an hour, let it take an hour. I'm almost embarrassed by some of my older videos. Not that they're bad, but they're not great. If I could go back in time and make all my previous drawing videos look as good as this, or the Wolverine one, I'd be stoked. Looking at some of the other ones I did, I'm like, some of these look so bad. But I'm going to keep them up there because it's nice to see the progression. So you can kind of see how I've progressed artistically from point A to point B. I think what helps too is that I think there was, I've been busy with work this week and a couple of other things, so I didn't get to put out videos every day like I did at one time. But I think that this makes me hungrier, so when I do actually get time to sit down and draw, I'm going to make the most of it and not just hammer something out. Yes. So here we are. I think this is it. This might be it. Let's get you under the light a little bit better. So, I was feeling inspired today and I wanted to draw Captain America. And here we are. It's Captain America, and this is the Mech Strike iteration of the character as seen in the Marvel comic book series. I think he's loosely based off that design. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, this is Captain America. We drew this dude right here, and we made him look all nice and pretty. I love the... I kind of wish... I say this all the time. I mean, the Wolverine was a good example of it. I did a great job of giving him a really dynamic pose, but I just love just dramatic shots, especially portraits of things up close. It's kind of like... I think this is more so me being influenced by magazine covers. You know, stuff like you see on Time magazine or like Rolling Stone. I just like really iconic images and portraits of people. And this is my Captain America. Kind of wish you could see this, the star emblem and the A, and maybe even the shield, but for what I saw in my head, this kind of really fits the bill. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for dropping by. It means a lot to me. You know, I have fun drawing these things. So, my name is Lou, and it's the 15th of April, 2021. Thank you for dropping by. I hope you pulled something away from this. If not, that's alright too, but I had fun drawing this. And I will talk to you soon. So in the meantime, take care.